Hello everyone and welcome to today's podcast. I'm Tanya Kukade, a member of the Pharmaceutical and Lifesciences team at Nishith Desai Associates, and joining with me today is Eshika, Phadke, a core member of the pharmaceutical team as well. In this episode, we will be dissecting the implication of the recent talks about bringing nutraceuticals under the ambit of the drug regulators' control.
So Tanya, before we move forward with delving into the implications of this change, maybe it's best that we discuss what the difference between a nutraceutical, a health supplement, and a drug is.
Sure, Eshika. To give you an example, something as simple as a vitamin C product can be complex from a regulatory perspective. It may be regulated as a nutraceutical, health supplement, or even a drug. So, health supplements, to understand, is to support a healthy diet, and nutraceuticals, as they are regulated in India, render a certain physiological benefit and maintain good health. Now, in contrast to these two products, we have drugs. Drug products contain such concentrations of these ingredients, so to say vitamins or minerals, which have therapeutic effect. Now, in India, these vitamin and mineral products which are meant to have certain physiological benefits to humans, are regulated in two ways. One, which can be a drug, and the other, which can be a food product. And for these specific food products, the food regulator has notified specific regulations. The specific regulations notified by the food regulator provide for the conditions which each product should comply with or satisfy, so that each product can fall into a specific bucket, so to say health supplement or probiotic food or food for special dietary use or nutraceuticals. So the specific regulations notified by the food regulator provide for specific conditions basis which the food regulator determines the category under which the specific product would fall in. Now, this brings us to the question on the possibility and the talks around bringing nutraceuticals within the ambit of the drug regulator's control. Eshika, would you throw some light on this to understand what these talks are and what is it that the drug manufacturers and nutraceutical manufacturers should look forward to?
Sure, Tanya, that's quite a loaded question. So, to give some additional background, the specifics of when a product is to be regulated as a nutraceutical or a health supplement versus when it should be treated as a drug can be a bit wishy-washy. So the ICMR has laid down the recommended dietary allowance for various vitamins and minerals. The current consensus that has been adopted is if a product contains less than 100% of the recommended dietary allowance, it's treated as a food product. On the other hand, if it contains over 1 RDA, and in addition to that, if it contains the dosages that have been specified in the drug's rules, it's treated as a drug. Now, it's important to note that a food product, so a nutraceutical or a health supplement, cannot claim to be used in the prevention, treatment, or diagnosis or cure of any disease. A drug, on the other hand, can. So under Schedule V, which is where the recommended dosage for drugs has been laid down, they've broken it down into a prophylactic dose and a therapeutic dose. So if it contains the prophylactic dose, the product is used in the prevention. Whereas if it has a therapeutic dose, it's used to treat a disease. Now, this discussion around moving nutraceuticals to the drug regulators' purview is not new. It's something that we have been seeing extensively over the past few years, but it's become a lot more active in the last few months, and it seems like there may be some sort of movement that we see now. Now, this largely came about because the drug regulator felt like there's indiscriminate use of these nutraceuticals and health supplements in the market because they're very easily available online or, in a grocery store. That, in combination with easy access to information, has patients just purchasing these off the shelf and taking it as and when they please. Another issue that the drug regulator has highlighted is that companies sometimes use it as a means of bypassing drug regulations, at least. Another issue that the drug regulator has brought to the forefront is that companies allegedly use this bifurcation to bypass drug pricing regulations. So they've highlighted instances where the same company markets a product both as a drug and as a nutraceutical, and the nutraceutical costs multiple times the drug product, and they've attributed this solely to the fact that it's not subject to price regulations. Now, the delineation for foods for special dietary use, foods for special medical purpose, probiotics, prebiotics is more clear. So, at present, the talks are not centered around these categories of foods. It's limited only to nutraceuticals. Tanya, would you like to shed light on what the potential implications of this move would be?
Sure, Eshika. As we know, drugs are susceptible to different licensing requirements, so to say, for manufacture, sale, as well as distribution. And when nutraceuticals are possibly brought within this ambit, all of these regulations and compliance requirements would become applicable to them. The drug regulatory framework, also to ensure uniformity in the quality of such products, requires manufacturers to comply with certain good manufacturing practices. Now, this is much more stringent for drugs in India. As we know, at the grassroots level, the drugs are also required to establish safety and efficacy through clinical studies, which is a long-drawn process. However, we do not see this happening for nutraceuticals at present, and there has been non-restricted sale of such items in the Indian market. Now, another important implication that is likely to affect the nutraceutical industry is that at present, drugs can only be sold through licensed channels, which is not the case for nutraceuticals, and we see nutraceuticals easily and readily available through open channels. Where they are brought within the ambit of drug regulation, it will likely impact the sale models and thereby the availability of such products in the market. Now, if nutraceuticals come to be regulated as drugs, it might also likely trigger the drug pricing regulations. Where nutraceuticals are brought within the ambit of a drug or come to be regulated as drugs, they will also likely trigger the price control regulations as you discussed earlier. In light of all of these talks of bringing nutraceuticals within the ambit of drugs and the potential implications that it might have on the industry in general, we still feel that the nutraceutical industry has abundant scope for manufacturing and growing within India. And there lies a wide customer base, even an untapped potential and opportunity for both manufacturers as well as exporters of such products from India. However, given that this industry and the regulations surrounding this product industry is at its nascent stage, taking baby steps would be the way to go. Now, there are perhaps certain teething issues which would eventually get resolved in the regulatory mechanism by stakeholder discussions and consultations. However, we look forward to a steep growth of this industry in the near future. With this, we conclude our podcast. Thank you for listening to us, and we would love to hear back from you. Please write to us.